What is the number one financial mistake that you can make in retirement? There is a clear number one and a clear way to overcome it. I've got that and more coming up. My name's Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. We have all made financial mistakes. I have, guys, and I know you have too. And the big idea is it keeping you from making progress in your financial life? And what I mean by that is the regret, or is the shame or embarrassment. Is it keeping you from making progress? Or were you able to say, made a mistake, learned my lesson, we're still making progress, we're still moving forward? Has it gotten in the way of you hiring a CFP, a coach, because you don't want to reveal that, yeah, I had this blunder, I made this mistake, and you feel embarrassed or feel like they're going to instantly look and say, you should be further ahead. They're not going to, or at least the right CFP doing comprehensive financial planning, they're not impressed by your mistake, and they don't care. They want you to succeed, and they're there to help you with it. Now, when it comes to financial mistakes, no one's out there willingly trying to make them. And when it comes to mistakes, financial mistakes in retirement, they are even more costly. They not only cost you money, right, with thousands of dollars, significantly more than that at times, but they cost you worry and time during your golden years when you really want to have financial peace. You want to have clarity and confidence, and financial mistakes can not only cost you dollars, but they cost you that worry as well. And so I was thinking about this and even thinking about making a list of the most common financial mistakes in retirement, and I'm sure we'll do content on that, have before, but guys, there is one glaring, not even close second, number one financial mistake people make in retirement. And there's also a way to overcome it. The number one biggest financial mistake that people make in retirement is not sticking to a long-term disciplined investment strategy. That is the number one financial mistake that people make in retirement. And you might think you've heard it for your entire career. For as long as you've been investing, don't make any immediate, quick changes, emotional changes. Stick with a long-term investment philosophy. And you think, well, that was for when I was young. But now I'm older, and therefore I need to make sure that I don't have any big drops because I'm in retirement. Can't afford to retire if I see these big drops. Guys, I think the bigger financial risk or investment temptation when you're young is chasing return. When again, the mantra still is appropriate. Be diversified, have a diversified long-term strategy. And when you're young, you're on this race, and the temptation is more to be the rabbit than the turtle. And so you're looking at your diversified portfolio and you're seeing some areas for the time being, whether that's a quarter or whether that's a year or a couple years, really performing well while others aren't performing as well. And you're tempted to chase return. So there's less of a temptation when you're young to abandon your strategy and go conservative. That temptation really starts to exist as you have a lot more saved up and you start thinking of walking the plank, stepping away from that steady paycheck and relying on these dollars. When you see that volatility, they don't seem reliable. It doesn't seem stable. And that's the time when you need to hear this mantra: don't deviate from your long-term investment strategy. Stay disciplined, stay diversified to your long-term strategy. So how do you overcome this financial mistake? How do you overcome it? Well, there's two ways, and one's soft and one's technical. The soft one is first an awareness that this is going to be a big temptation. Guys, I've just seen it from the most experienced investors as well. Folks that have seen a half dozen recessions and haven't been phased. But all of a sudden, when they see some volatility in retirement, it's different. It is different. And so first is just the awareness and recognize that, your feelings on investing, especially that volatility, is likely to shift as soon as you retire or as you get near retirement. So an awareness is going to get you a long way, okay, in managing your emotions and therefore keeping those emotions at bay and not having you drive to make some decisions. So that's one solution. But then the technical or the strategic way to overcome this is something we call the personal pension plan. That any investment, let's take the S&P 500 simply because over time it's been one of the best, if not the best investment over time. Well, if you're just looking at a short period of time, you might look and say, oh, the S&P 500 is terrible. Did you see just in 2022 alone, from January 1st until end of October, it was down 26%. How could you call that a good investment? And yet, over the past couple of decades, it's averaged 13% per year, and over, since the Great Depression, it's averaged over 10% per year. So the longer your time horizon, the greater your odds that this is going to be a wise investment for you. And at retirement, you realize, I don't have a lot of time. But here's the mistake that people make. They think, I've saved up all of this money, and now I've got this much. Now that I'm retiring, all of it needs to be short term. I can't have any volatility. But the truth is, and this is this personal pension plan approach, you need to then calculate as you're nearing retirement, as you get to retirement, okay, how much of this money am I going to need in the short term? How much of this money will I need in the intermediate term? And then how much of this money will I actually not need to touch for 10 plus years? How much is still long term? Because historically and mathematically, money that you're not going to need to touch for the long term, or let's say 10 plus years, is still, it's appropriate to have that be subject to the ups and downs of the market, because odds are, and history has proven, that investing and staying invested in the market's going to help you grow those dollars and overcome inflation, which is one of the things that you're fighting in retirement. So mathematically, figuring out, well, how much of this money are we going to be drawing out in the first 2 to 3 years of retirement? That money should be very, very low risk, okay? That's it. That's the first bucket of your personal pension plan. That's your short-term money. And when you're building that 5-factor retirement plan, when you're working with your CFP, and you're going to figure out, well, what's my retirement income strategy? Here's how much money we need. This much is going to come from Social Security, and therefore the rest of this has got to come from the investment portfolio. So the rest of this, whatever that number is, times 36 to get to 3 years, that amount should be in, well, right now with interest rates, a high yield money market. If you're on the cusp of retirement, or if you're going to use this money within 3 years, that should be in high yield money market, maybe a CD ladder, something like that, where there's principal protection, there's not volatility, and you're still getting some interest. And those are the dollars that you'll be tapping, you'll be drawing out of those to supplement your Social Security. The 3-year to 10-year money, I would call that intermediate term. And so those dollars, maybe you've got a bond ladder or a CD ladder built in there. So there's downside protection, but you're still getting some fixed interest, and you know exactly when those dollars will be liquid and be available to you. Maybe others are hedged strategies where, okay, I want the appreciation of the market, but I'm willing to give up some of the upside with for the confidence that, gosh, if the bottom falls out and we see a really bad market over the next 5 years, that I've got downside protection. So maybe hedging goes in there, maybe some lower risk type of investments, medium to lower risk types of investments. But again, it's math driven. How much money will you need for that 7-year time period plus interest and all of that? And that can help based on, again, this is how much we're going to spend, this is our Social Security, so this is how much we'll be drawing from investments. You can do the math to then determine how much needs to be in that intermediate term. Once you look at your entire portfolio and say, okay, these are my short-term dollars, I'll structure them that way. These are my intermediate term dollars, I'll structure them that way. Then that means the rest of the dollars are long-term and should be invested long-term. That doesn't mean you should be speculative. That doesn't mean you should be swinging for the fences and trying to hit home runs or triples every time. Maybe you're still only comfortable with, trying to hit singles or hitting doubles with those dollars, but those are the ones that should be subject to some risk. When this long-term bucket goes down, you don't panic because you've got 3 years worth of cash and you've got several more years worth of lower risk dollars that should have some downside protection. But when these dollars surge and all of a sudden there's some froth up here, maybe you take at times some of the froth and replenish the first bucket. If not, if it's not very frothy, sorry for the word picture here, then at times you use that to replenish that intermediate term bucket, and you're using the intermediate term bucket to replenish the first bucket, that short-term bucket. That's the personal pension plan. That can help you overcome the number one financial mistake that people make in retirement. There's several other mistakes, number 2, number 3, number 4, and I'll share that content as well, but for help with implementing the right strategy, the right disciplines, the right plan to avoid that number one mistake and all of the others, got to work with your CFP. A CFP that's doing comprehensive financial planning, a fiduciary in your corner that's seen it all before, navigated thousands of folks into retirement successfully. That's who you need to work with. If you don't have a CFP like that on your team, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or send us an email, info@korhorn.com. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.